Today, I'll fly my first Boeing 767 flight coast to coast in the United States with Delta. Tune in to find out just what it's like. Welcome back to New York JFK Terminal 4, where after an overnight layover, I'm continuing my journey around the world. With this time, Delta. I'll be flying, as I touched on, their Boeing 767-300ER from one side of the United States to the other, onwards towards Los Angeles. Upon entering the terminal, you are immediately greeted by Delta's very modern check-in area, where self-service bag drop is available. They do make this known. Don't be fooled though, a new JFK is taking off soon, with the airport undergoing a significant reconstruction process. Is it just me, or is every major airport under construction nowadays? Behind the check-in desks is where security and border control are located. Then you find your shops and food options. One feature I do like on the boards is a reference to where food locations are, and their respective gates. As for me though, I will be flying with Delta to Los Angeles, specifically on DL536, with departure at 12 PM or noon local time. The gate that has been selected for me is B38. With that in mind, let's head first to more duty-free shops and a little Lego pilot. I've always been a fan of the Lego stores in airports, although they are massively overpriced, so I'll give this a miss. One brilliant thing to see was the New York JFK Air Train, which is an 8.1 mile long elevated line connecting New York JFK to other locations. Operating 24/7, there are 9 stations on the network, and have you used this before? Let me know, and if so, what are your thoughts? The New York JFK Air Traffic Control Tower is also proudly featured and can be seen from windows around Terminal 4 and depending on where you are located in the airport. Speaking of the airport, they do say that Terminal 4 is a green terminal. News agencies with last-minute, must I add, overpriced snacks and also souvenirs are available, and man, to be completely honest, these people mover belts, if that's what they're called, are lifesavers, making a journey much quicker when getting to your gate, when it is also inevitably on the other side of the airport, because whoever has a gate that is right there. Also, look what we have here. Yes, the Emirates Airbus A380 has arrived. The world's largest passenger plane is always a pleasure to see. But enough of that. I've now found my gate, which is B38, and is the last of the gates before an escalator takes you down a level to the remaining gates in at the airport. Departure is again scheduled for 12 PM, so I have a little bit of a wait, but I'd rather be early than late, so let's take a look at the beautiful 767 that will be taking me there. I'm very fortunate that this is the first ever Boeing 767 I will be about to board. I've slowly been on a mission to tick some planes that I haven't had the chance to fly on, and the 767 is another that I put in the same category as the 757. Oh, and bye-bye to this Korean Air Boeing 777F that was departing right in front of me. From my gate, there's also a lovely view of the skyline of Manhattan, and can you spot any of the landmarks? Drop it down below in the comments. The future is scary, I've got to admit, and so was this shop. You basically scan your credit card, walk in. There are sensors above that can see what you're picking, and they charge you once you leave to your credit card. Ultimately, it did charge me the correct amount, but my word, it was really odd, and it was my first experience with this kind of technology. I don't know how I feel about it. Efficient, yes. Weird, also yes. This TV shows I'm in the right place and also highlights the upgrade queue, but it is now time to board. It feels like the time passed just like that. There are lots of winding loops in terms of getting down to the level of the aircraft, which is very similar to my experience with North Atlantic Airways at Berlin-Brandenburg, so I'll spare you all that and skip ahead. Today I'm on board a 767-300ERs. It is safe to say that these 767s are true workhorses within the Delta fleet. Delta One is featured at the front of the cabin with Delta Comfort Plus following behind. Today though, I will be towards the back of the cabin in your regular economy. These 767s come with all your standard amenities, and in my opinion, the economy seat is all you need for a coast-to-coast hop. If anything, maybe it's a bit more than what you need for this kind of flight. Once in my seat, the legroom was more than adequate. We were also provided with a blanket in case of getting cold. You have your safety card in the seat back pocket, which confirms I'm flying today on a 767-300ER K configuration. and there's a sick bag which has Delta logos on it. This tray table is also a pretty good size and extends towards you. To the bottom right are plugs for charging larger devices. I'll be quiet now though, so you can enjoy this departure from the beautiful 767. New York JFK was experiencing quite a windy day on departure, and that was more than evident during our climb out as we wobbled around quite a fair bit. An IFE review is, in my opinion, always essential, and while not everyone uses them nowadays with personal devices, it's still an important thing. And yes, there was indeed lag, but one of the cool features on this was Delta has Flight Path 3D, which is a very powerful flight tracker that provides you, the user, with many opportunities to understand just where you are, where Delta's hubs are, significant locations, alongside other important flight stats. A menu of what was available on the flight was also offered, alongside the opportunity to have Wi-Fi, which they say you can connect in for 3 easy steps at a fee. For kids, there was games, movies, and more. Shortly after takeoff, the mood lighting kicked in. I had a Pepsi or Coke, can't quite remember, with a Biscoff biscuit. We were also provided with some earphones, which was a nice touch. And so it begins. I was greeted with a please wait screen, meaning chargers weren't active alongside anything else, but I did in the end get a pretty fun game with the cursor. And no, the IFE never corrected itself. Before I did know it, we were cloud surfing into a rather odd Los Angeles day. The flight, to recap, was pleasant. Nothing really much happened, and maybe that's a good thing. There weren't any meal services or anything to generally report on. The flight arrived on time, if not early, and the crew was lovely. The only real negative, well, my seatmate told me her entire life stories probably a couple times over during the flight, which, as you can imagine, wasn't maybe the most pleasant thing. Would I fly Delta again? Sure, this is my third time now with them, and I've enjoyed every experience. The seat is relatively comfortable, but at the end of the day, I'm a pretty amateur reviewer, and I'd argue my bar is pretty low. You'd have to cancel me, leave me stranded in an airport, unwilling to provide compensation, or force me into doing a 12-hour round trip to make it to the next airport for my flight. That would all have to happen for me not to like you. And no, why on earth would I be looking at Air Canada directly? That's going to conclude today's review. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for tuning in. My apologies for the lateness in getting this out, but obviously it is not a priority. Stay tuned though, a Singapore Airlines A380 review will be coming to your screens very soon.